According to the Swedish Interior Minister Anders Ygeman, Sweden may reject the asylum applications of up to 80,000 migrants and will prepare to deport them. A charter aircraft would be used to deport the migrants, but it will take several years. Keep in mind, Elliot, this isn't like, tomorrow we're sending back all these people. The reasons why aren't so clear, but this is their estimations. 80,000 people. It could be, people that are coming from places that aren't necessarily war-torn, like Iran, for example. They might be economic migrants coming from Iran. That's just one example, but they're not being too specific on who exactly these people are. I doubt it's going to be some family, running away from Syria, for example. So I don't want to give off the wrong impression here. But we have to deal, first off, we have to talk about what Sweden is dealing with. I mean, the kind of numbers. 163,000 people have applied for asylum in Sweden last year, in 2015. That is the highest per capita number in Europe. So they've slowly been taking some measures to kind of ease the flow, stem that flow. For example, They've enacted the systematic photo ID checking system that has had a lot of people, it's given a lot of people trouble coming in. So there's been certain things, and plus, the way that the climate seems to be changing in Europe, this just seems to be something that I feel personally we're going to see a lot more of, because first it was open doors, everyone come in, give us everybody, and now it seems that Europe is slowly going back on their word because they simply can't cope with the numbers that are coming in.
Right, so
the millions.
Sure, the numbers have certainly been overwhelming, and thousands more arriving every day. The reports are that in Greece this year alone, so in the first 25, 26 days of this year, we've had something like 45,000 refugees coming to Greece alone yeah. this year, in the first 25 days. So they keep coming in waves, and you're right, Sweden and Germany have been at the forefront of accepting refugees. So the 80,000, that's an alarming number. That's basically 50%, approximately, up to 50% of the numbers that they received, or the refugees that arrived last year could potentially face deportation. And the reason they've specified, as you said, they've kept it deliberately vague, but it's that these individuals do not satisfy the criteria for asylum seeking. And that then throws up a whole bunch of questions, and it does play a little bit towards certain members of the fringe right who are have been saying all along that a lot of these individuals are economic migrants as opposed to genuine refugees. And certainly if that's coming out in the wash in Sweden, it does also speak to, you're right, the checks and balances that they haven't had in place, the fact that there is, and the numbers have just been so overwhelming that they feel as though they're going to have to put these checks and balances and these mechanisms to be able to actually verify who these individuals are. We're seeing alarming reports in Germany earlier in the week, whereby reports were up to 500,000 refugees are unaccounted for in Germany. They just simply don't know where they are potentially. Yeah. So when you see those types of numbers, it gets very alarming very, very quickly.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned there the right in Europe, and I think, for example, someone like Angela Merkel, they never said that they were going to take in economic migrants. That was never the plan. The plan was we have a duty to take in people who are fleeing for their lives, who are looking out for the safety of them and their families. That was never the plan, and I think these people would have been sent back anyways. So in some ways, coming out with official numbers like this and sending it to the media and letting everybody know, in the next few years we're going to be sending this amount of people back. In some ways, that's politicizing this whole thing and kind of politicizing this issue specifically, saying, we're going to appease the right now and let them know that, look, we are doing our fair share. We're taking in the people we feel that we need to take in, and don't worry, we're not taking in every single person like you think we are who's coming here just to exploit our welfare system and exploit our benefits. That's not the point. I think they're letting everybody know. In some ways, this could be seen, the fact that they're coming out and saying this, they're appeasing the right.
Yes and no. I think what it is as much as a political move, I think it's just a reflection of the legalities of the situation, whereby the criteria are that you have to be from a war-torn conflict zone, immediate fear of danger of your life, and those are the criteria that you need to satisfy.
It's very hard to prove anyways that you're not, unless you're coming from another country.
Right, and failing which, you are not eligible for refugee status. I think it's as simple as that. But the other troubling aspect is this is going to take the length of time that this is going to take to unravel. And all the while, as I said, thousands more are arriving every day. And all the while, Europe is so fractured at the moment. You mentioned at the top there the fact that that what began as an open borders policy, and particularly that integrity of that Shenzhen zone, which is so important, arguably one of the greatest achievements of the European Union, the single European Union, now seems to be falling apart at the fringes and the edges. Germany's imposed a border temporarily, but has imposed a border with Austria. Sweden's imposed a border with Denmark. And it goes on. There's a number of other countries have done that. And the fact that, as I said, that Sweden, we can't be overemphasized, that Sweden has received per capita the single most highest number of refugees out of any of the countries, and is now sending up to 50% of them back over a period of years, sends a message that it is chaotic, that it is unmanageable, and I fear for the repercussions, the wider repercussions.
Yeah, and it's hard to foresee what those will be exactly. And all this, given the climate that we're at now, I mean, the fact that a lot of the media seems to now be kind of turning on the refugees in light of the recent attacks on New Year's in Cologne, or the recent stabbing of an employee working at one of these centers, these immigration centers. There was an employee there that was stabbed by a young asylum seeker there too. So we see the climate definitely changing, and the way that a lot of these refugees are being portrayed in the media. I'm not so fond of that either. But anyways, apparently Sweden has announced it will be sending people in the thousands back to where they came from.